County Water District meeting to order. Ask for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Kevin, are you or Beth going to do the financial?
Good evening.
Good evening.
In front of you is a graph comparing May of 2018 to May of 2019 for districts 1 and 2. Revenues are in the red, expenses are in the blue. For District 1, for 2018, we're at $834,000. District 2, $823,000. Comparing that to May of 2019, we are at District 1, we're at $684,000, and District 2, $493,000.
Beth, go back to that slide right quick.
Is this the place to ask a question?
Do you have questions?
Well, I'm just curious as to the difference year over year. Is it because we turned this district over to the city? Is that why
No.
amounts are?
So as far as District 2 is the one that probably has the biggest difference, and that's the sewer fees. We are working with LMA and the prison system on getting those. We're about 2 or 3 months behind. So that's one reason those numbers are kind of off. So we're looking at getting those hauled back up here before the close of the fiscal year.
Oh, okay. Has that happened before?
It varies. We're usually a month or 2 behind,
Okay.
and with everything going on, they've kind of fallen further behind than what they need to.
Okay.
But we anticipate those to go. I'm looking at our net position. At June 30, 2018, in total, we were at 2.9 million. Brought in revenues of 1.1 million. Expenditures went out at a little over $1 million. And as of May, we are right at $3 million. And looking at the important piece, the cash flows, 2019, we started out with 1.3 million, and as of May, we were at 1.4. And we kind of increased, of course, in 18, we had the water towers, those were rehab, so that's where a lot of our cash flow went out in part of 17 and 18. And so in 19, we've got those pretty much paid off, and we're starting to see a slight increase in cash. And just looking at Water District 1, we were at a budget of $700,000. We brought in $684,000 in revenues, expended $632,000. And right now we are revenues over expenditures of $51,000. Water District 2, we had budgeted $675,000. We brought in $493,000, expended $434,000. Our revenues over expenditures of $58,000. But there again, this is the district that we're having, that has the water and sewer fees in it that we're working with LMA and the prison system.
Anybody have any questions for Beth about the water district? Thank you, Beth.
Yes, sir.
I guess that concludes the
Thank you. That's it. I did not insert the slide in here, but the water district budgets were presented last month and and they are effectively no change for the current fiscal year, with no change in rate structure recommended.
Will we see a change next year because of the breakup of the districts?
It will impact our testing costs.
Is it more work for finance?
Not significantly for them. It's actually collecting and sending off the sampling. The actual sampling cost is going to be more expensive than,
Because it's out.
yes.
And are we still working on an agreement with the city?
Yes, we got to follow back up with them, but, and again, the goal will be to just take all of our systems and put them under the city's permit.
Hopefully in next year's budget,
Yeah.
in next year's operations.
And if we get the city to agree to that.
If it don't, we'll incur a lot more expense than we have yet.
There will be a significant cost to us, and,
To do that?
well,
No, if you
to
don't
not,
get it, to not do it with the city.
Yeah, I agree.
but I don't think it financially jeopardizes the system, but it would be an expense that we could otherwise avoid.
Well, they know that we're interested in it. You need a motion to approve the financials? No?
Not really.
Oh, okay. This is just
Do
a
that
FYI?
When we do the budget, I will
Yeah.
take care of this.
All right.
More informational and procedural, I guess, than anything else. All right, if there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the water board meeting.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all in favor, let me know, say aye. I would like that. Thank you all for coming.
Well, that was easy to go home now, right? It turned out. No, not that I know of anyway.
It is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners June 3rd meeting to order. And ask Commissioner McCall for the invocation.
If you choose, if you so desire, you may pray with me. Dear God, as this Board of Commissioners meets tonight, we pray that you will be with us in mind, body, and spirit. We humbly ask for you to give us wisdom so that we make judicious decisions for the citizens of our county. We pray that we are ever mindful of our role as elected officials as we perform our duties. Please bless our county and bring comfort to those who are suffering. And we pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. We'll join in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. I will now open the public forum. We have several folks that have signed up to speak, and I would ask that you be mindful of the 3-minute time limit. And first one signed up is Mr. Jerry Campbell.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Jerry Campbell. I live at 204 East Bank Street, Laurinburg, North Carolina. I've been living there 23 years. I am here to speak against the Board of Commissioners' consideration of changing the foreclosure policy from 3 years to 2 years. There are many taxpayers in this county with low income, and we need that other year to pay all our property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Mr. Stern, Mr. Dane Stern. Mr. Walter Rogers.
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to thank you for all the work that you do. I'm sure sometime you wonder why you decide to run for that position. But I want you to know there are a lot of people in Scotland County that appreciate you and the work that you do. I'm here tonight to oppose any changes in the procedure for property tax foreclosure. I echo what Jerry has said, and I think it's important, and I would really add to what you're looking at, if possible, to see if we cannot find somebody locally that can do that work that we are sending outside our county. I think it would be nice. And if the person that does it might be a little bit more compassionate. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Walter. Mr. Rob Macy.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share briefly what's been going on with our Scotland County Disaster Recovery Group. I want to give you an update. We met initially in January of this year, formed an ad hoc committee, and then we were able to formalize in February. As a result of our efforts, you may have heard that we were able to secure a full-time disaster recovery case manager through Endeavors, who has a contract with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. Our next meeting is here at the A.B. Gibson Building on the 19th of June at 11:30. And we are planning to do a community symposium for disaster preparedness on August the 14th. And that's a Wednesday from 10 to 12. There'll be more information forthcoming. And thank you again for the opportunity to share that with you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Ms. Loretta McNeils.
Greetings, my name is Loretta McNeil. I live at 721 South King Street, Lawrenceburg, North Carolina. A proud citizen of Scotland County. I come to standing against changing the property tax foreclosure. And the big reason is because of our given current economic climate here in Scotland County. I have pretty much pulled up that we have over 2,000 veterans here. That some is in that list that pretty much can't pay their taxes. I too know a few. We do have, as has been spoken, disaster relief funding that is supposedly coming to some people, but they have not received it yet, and for that reason, monies is being spent on trying to live. Additionally, we should look at the point that if there's anything that we can do to extend and help individuals in Scotland County, because we are a family, that's what the project should be working on. I thank clearly Mary Helen Norton for the work that she does, because she did a special step and she understands what I mean. I'm going to give you a brief example of something, Mr. Alfred, and likewise the entire board. There's a person that I know that had a deed. The person had a perfect deed, a will. The will was set up to go to her sister. Her sister died before her, then she had her brother in place. Her actual brother died. Then she had her nephew in place. And then lastly, another nephew who is now sick. So in situations of that nature, when people are at illnesses, and illnesses such as dementia, Alzheimer, and any of us, we know where we've been, but we don't know where we're going. Any of us can be in that state. We must be about the care of health and also the care of wealth in Scotland County. Why eliminate a year? And I think Ms. Norton can speak to some of the people in that 3-year period that was able to pay their money. And my time might have lapsed, I'm not sure, his hand went up, but they were able to pay their monies. So what we need is to analyze this a little bit more, because if there's some people in that period of time that was able to pay that money, then kudos to them that they was able to save their family's property. Because each of us have families, and we do want it to be extended down to our children and their children. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Is there anyone else that did not sign up? If not, then I will close that public forum part and ask for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Now we will move to the adult services presentation of DSS.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Stanton, and I am a program administrator with Scotland County DSS.
And I'm Kimberly McCray, and I'm the Adult Services Supervisor with the Department of Social Services.
We are here tonight just as to be informative, to let the commissioners and the community know that adult services here at Scotland County DSS is a service that our community needs and that our agency takes great pride in. Ms. McCray will briefly touch on several areas that we serve.
Yes, we serve several capacities through the Adult Services Unit. We provide adult protective services, and that is making sure that disabled adults are evaluated for allegations of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. We currently have received 26 reports that we have screened in for evaluation as of this year. Last year, for the entire year, we received 22 reports. So currently, this fiscal year, our numbers have increased. We also provide guardianship services for 27 wards, and we make sure that those wards' needs are being met. Those wards are currently all staying in residential, in facilities throughout the state of North Carolina, and the worker goes by to make sure that their overall needs are being met. And as I stated, we currently serve for 27 of those wards who are placed throughout the state of North Carolina. We serve as representative payee for 8 adults within the county, and by doing so, we make sure that their financial needs are met, that they get to their doctor's appointments, that their groceries are bought, and that all of their bills are being paid. And we make sure that they are not being financially exploited. We have an adult daycare center here in Scotland County, and we currently have 8 clients who serve in that capacity at the facility, at the daycare center. And they go there and they have different activities that they are able to perform throughout the day while their caregivers have other obligations at that time. So that frees them up and gives the adult some stimulation and outside activity. We have in-home assistance programs. We first serve as the special assistant in-home, and that particular program, we have 8 clients in that program who are on Medicaid, but the program helps them become self-sufficient and keeps them from going into an adult care home. We also serve and have an in-home aid program, and that program provides 2 slots. We have contracted with Carolina Hearts Home Care to make sure that adults who are disabled and not able to receive Medicaid can receive personal care services if they are not on Medicaid. That program is not based solely on the client's income, but rather their need for that particular service. We also have a worker who monitors the adult care home in Scotland County. And the adult care home at this time is Prestwick Village. And each month, she is in that home, making sure that they comply with the state requirements and regulations, and that the residents there are receiving their correct level of care.
So we say all this to say that is a very broad overview of the services that Adult Protective Services or Adult Services Unit provides within the county. This month, the month of June, is recognized as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. We would like to invite every commissioner and every community, anyone in the community, to attend a ceremony Wednesday, June 5th at 2 p.m. out on the DSS to kick off this month and to show our community partnership and leadership. We also have over on the table here, we have 3 pamphlets that feel free to take these, that talk about facts about elder abuse and signs of elder abuse that we think are very important. And last for DSS, we have a proclamation that we would like to have read and entered into.
Our vice chair, Ms. Carol McCall, will now read the proclamation.
Proclamation in recognition of June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Whereas the United Nations has designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day to focus global attention on the problem of physical, emotional, and financial abuse of elders. And whereas research has shown that elder abuse, neglect, violence, and exploitation crosses all social, economic, racial, and ethnic boundaries. It is often committed by someone who provides care for the elderly person and is one of the biggest issues facing senior citizens around the world. And whereas World Health Organization data suggests that 4 to 6% of elderly people suffer from some sort of abuse, a large percentage of which goes unreported. And whereas combating abuse of senior citizens and vulnerable adults will help older Americans continue to live as independently as possible, improve their quality of life, and allow them to continue to contribute to Scotland County. And whereas as a community, we should seek to understand the challenges and opportunities presented by an aging population and bring together senior citizens and their caregivers, local government, and the private sector to exchange ideas about how best to reduce incidents of violence toward elders and increase reporting of such abuse. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Scotland County Board of Commissioners that June 19th is Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Scotland County, and urge all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to acknowledge the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue, to learn how to report abuse, and to raise awareness and take a stand against elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Adopted this 3rd day of June 2019.
Thank you.
What time did you say
Is there any questions? Anybody have any questions, please raise your hand.
I'm sorry, I was just asking what time Wednesday is that?
2 p.m.
I like to say that nothing makes me prouder than reading the material I read that you all sent us. I can sleep better at night knowing I'm a senior citizen and you all gonna look out for me like all these things said here. I think it's wonderful that we have, have that for our county, for our older senior citizens, because it really, really is needed. So thank you so much for the job that you all do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
Mr. Gray, I had a question. You said that, and you didn't use the term complaint, but you said there have been 26 protective service actions, referrals. And last year there were 22. Is the fiscal year, I hope, is ending in June?
It will end in June,
All right.
so we're 1 month shy of our total number.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question. I need to be educated further. Is Prestwick the only rest home adult care facility that we have now in Scotland County?
Yes.
We don't have any small family care homes?
There are family care homes through mental health.
But not
not through social services.
Okay, I understand the
States
difference.
like that,
So
just
there
the
wasn't-
mental health section.
So Prestwick is our only
Prestwick
facility
is the only-
serving adults that need residential care that are not falling under the umbrella of mental health services.
Correct, at this time.
Any other questions? If not, thank y'all for the job you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will open the public hearing for the budget. Kevin?
With this, give a quick summary of the budget that was proposed at the budget retreat. And there have been no changes to this one as was originally presented to the commissioners. This budget has been published on the county's website and has been available, hard copies at my office. The presented budget had a total value of $43,650,151 with a proposed tax rate of 101.7 per $100 valuation, which generated $21,966,499 in tax value. It does include a cost of living adjustment for additional positions as well as a salary increase for our 911 telecommunicators to allow for better retention and recruitment potential. It does use $1.4 million in fund balance for capital projects. That is part of the $43.6 million. With that, the budget is balanced at revenue neutral rate. Revenue neutral, basically, if we did not have revaluation kicked in, the estimated revenue would have been $21,940,000. With revenue neutral, with revaluation, this budget has $21,966,000. It's a $26,000 difference, and that's because rounded the tax rate after one position, after the decimal, rather than going out for additional. So the $26,000 truly is a rounding difference. With that, of course, the proportion of the county expenditure, since county government is a service industry, 44% goes into personnel, 44% goes into operational, 12% going into capital this year. That's because we have the additional $1.6 million in capital projects, including such as the paving projects out at the government complex and the new financial software, which are projects that should not come along every decade. The net county support, which includes property taxes, sales taxes, and fund balance, are generated out into the different categories as presented previously. Of course, the largest goes into education, which is the public school system and Richmond Community College. Thereafter, public safety, which includes law enforcement, EMS, as well as 911 services, forestry, another. Then we go into human services, which are primarily health and social services. With this, looking at the $29 million of discretionary revenue that is in this budget, or call it discretionary because this is part of the budget, this is part of the revenue that you control. Of course, 76% of that is property tax, 19% is sales tax. So we have $22.3 million in total property taxes. That includes current year and prior year. That's the differences. You also have sales taxes. This does not include the amount of designated fund sales taxes that goes into education for capital and debt service, since you do not control the ultimate purpose of those funds. And of course, again, fund balance. Also looking at it, just looking at, the question generally comes up, how much of the budget do you actually control of the county's budget, of what services can you eliminate? That turns out to be about 9% of the total budget. These optional services include Parks and Recreation, Cooperative Extension, Veteran Services. And libraries in there as well. And again, just kind of going over this because I know the board had a fairly extensive conversation on this, and we have significant material that has been published on the website. It's been available. But just giving a quick summary before we go into the public hearing.
Hey, Kevin, a question. Where did the lottery drawdown fall in? What category?
That would go into education, but that is in the non-discretionary funds. That's about $350,000 this year. $300,000 of that will be utilized for the final payment in July. Well, not the final payment. With the payment this year and the payment next year for the Wakeman School expansion, that will be paid off in July of 2020.
It's drawdown twice a year?
That's potentially quarterly. It depends on when the state releases the funds and when we have specific allocation for it.
But it's quite a change in the amount we're given compared to what we were promised years ago, right?
Yes.
The percentage of it has dropped.
Yes. Originally, we were getting over $850,000 annually. This year, we're budgeting about $350,000 for lottery.
No questions, Ken? Before we open the floor for public hearing, I'd just like to welcome everybody here. And it's good to see this many interested people come and hear and go through the budget review. For those that have signed up to speak, again, we remind you of the 3-minute time limit. At this time, we will open the public hearing for public discussion. Mr. Jim Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager, and County Attorney. I come to you this evening because of an article I read in the Exchange on May 25th. Mr. Patterson was informing the press that he proposed a budget with increases to the county commissioners. This article got me thinking. Is there any elected county commissioner that promised to raise taxes? I think not. It appears from the article that Mr. Patterson created the proposed budget without the input of the commissioners. I would have thought the commissioners would have provided a budget goal in the beginning of the budget process and then have Mr. Patterson and his staff try to achieve that goal. I believe if this was done, I would have read an article about a budget decrease, not a budget increase. In the article, Mr. Patterson said property values are decreasing. This comment is a red flag to all of us. Many of you have worked in the private sector. In the private sector, when business decreases, there is belt tightening. With decreased property values, commissioners should be tightening expenditures. I trust this budget does not have additional hires. To me, that would show great mismanagement, in my opinion. I have a suggestion for the media, press, and local forums. when candidates for office suggest we can lower taxes, ask one question. Specifically, how will you reduce taxes? Maybe then we will have some accountability in this county. Personally, I do not want my county tax bill to increase. I do not see any additional benefits for paying more taxes other than a larger county government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next will be Mr. Joe Pitt.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak to all of you tonight. My name is Joe Pitt. I've been a resident of Scotland County for 3 years. I moved from Maryland to Scotland County. The county's been great, but as I've tried to get involved in the county, I realized one thing. The transparency of trying to understand the simplest of things is not there. And we'll start with the budget. I was here when the county formed in the beginning of the year, and I heard everyone say that the budget coming up, there would be no new taxes. Then I read that same article that Mr. Johnston read from the exchange, that Mr. Patterson said there was an increase. A comment of it was only $10 a person. I thought that that was fundamentally wrong, since the county has promised, the commissioners have all promised, there would be no increase. So then I started getting involved and started looking at different websites, the county's archives, and a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And one thing is we're one of the poorest counties in this state. A tax increase should even be. The second thing is, I noticed since in 2013, which is the earliest date that I can find on the archives, that the budget was $37 million. And every year it's gone that number. Now, I was just taking a note that $29,292,000 come from revenue. I don't understand where the other $14 million come from. I would like to understand that. There is a difference for 43, the total budget is $43,650,000. We're bringing in $29,292,000, and there's a difference of $14 million in something. Maybe I'm not an accountant, but that's what it looks like to a citizen. Where's that money coming from? And why every year has it gone up? Then I started looking into the process of how this works. The county manager is asked to bring forth a budget. He does so. Then the council will review that budget and most likely will tell them, please go back, we need to be revenue neutral. At that time, the county manager will go back and he will then go through his numbers to reduce the budget if he can. I hope I'm following the process correctly. At that time, if the budget's agreed to, the county manager then sets the budget. He doesn't go back to each one of the department heads and review their budget, because he is saying you now need to make the cuts. Everybody has to make the cuts together. Now, maybe I'm wrong with that, but that's what I've been told. And then the other question is with the budget, I don't understand how we have a budget for education, and instead of a per capita per student, we have a lump sum. And we tell people, well, the budget's going up for education, or the budget's being cut for education, but the price per student is actually increased. And that shouldn't happen either on a budget. And then Mr. Patterson, you made a comment, I'd just like to understand from my own personal interest, that the county is only responsible, or only controls a certain amount. I would think that you guys would control all. I mean, you're agreeing to it, I mean, you all have to agree to it, don't you?
No.
You only agree to a portion.
We actually, the state mandates certain things, and we actually control about 9% of the total dollars.
And then,
We're able to
so
provide
who
these
controls the
other
other 91%?
Pardon me?
Who controls the other
The
91%?
state mandates what we do with
Okay, so the state mandates it,
it.
but
Yes.
it still gets spent in the county. Who controls it in the county? The state controls it?
Yes.
No, I understand, but once it gets here, they control, don't we oversee that?
Yeah, we oversee it, but they tell us how much we have to spend on these vans.
Okay.
And we have to do that.
We could allocate it differently, but the amount that's spent is going to remain the same.
So,
And that's true in all 100 counties, not just Scott County.
Well, and I gotta speak up just a little bit on that. It's not, we use the word mandated, and those services are mandated, but the dollar amount for that is not mandated to the point, there's some exceptions to that. And that, you know, there's nothing saying that we have to mandate to give, and I'll just throw the sheriff under the bus, $3.2 million. You know, the state mandate to that says we have to supply a sheriff, a jail, a bailiff, and a process server, right? So the state mandate to that is only probably $200,000 or $300,000. So I don't think mandate's the right word. There is some stuff in there that you can't mess with and you can't screw around with, but I also think that word mandate is not the best word that I would use.
Mr. Ivory,
Yes, ma'am.
well, you have to understand that the sheriff's department is not under the mandate. The jail and some of the other parts of it is set by the state guidelines. But we're talking about social services, health departments, and those departments are definitely have mandates, and we are required to give a certain amount of monies for those particular departments. And Calvin can mention all the other mandates that we have. But mandates are real. The county commission do not control all the money, whether we like it or not. That's just the way it is.
Well, I'm just trying to understand how the process works here. That when you receive a total budget, and then you're hearing as a citizen,
It is complicated, I agree with you.
yeah, so, I mean,
What you're saying is that in that same article where you're quoting Mr. Patterson as saying the budget be increasing taxes, in that same article, it was stated that the commissioners had instructed at our budget meeting, Mr. Patterson to go back to the drawing board and do, as you said, check the department heads and this, that, and the other, and come up with a tax rate of $1, which is where we are today.
and that's revenue.
Budget, and we come up with that, and also one by cutting the budget by a penny, which is what we're working on. So the $2 or $101.7 is a tax neutral, revenue neutral rate. It's not a fixed, it's not what the tax rate will be. You can put that in the bank.
I'd like to just add to that, the county manager mandated to balance the budget. And a balanced budget with revenue neutral gives you the $0.017. And just to reiterate what Chairman Davis said, in the budget meeting, we knew that we would start at that point. But our instructions were we want to see a dollar budget, we want to see a non-budget. And that's what, like you said, that's what has been happening in the interim since the last budget meeting. Unfortunately, the article in the newspaper was not able to capture all of that information clearly so that citizens could understand that it was the intention of this board not to raise taxes.
And it's a concern with the citizens. I think you can see behind me here a lot of them tonight, more than normal, that we're just concerned that our dollars being spent wisely, and that we're not surprised.
Well, as I stated, it's a pleasure to see you folks come out and speak about it. We do the best we can, and over the past 2 years, you mentioned, we have cut the tax rate a penny a year for several years. And we are looking to do that if possible this year. Not saying that we will, but at least we hope to stay where we are or right. That's our goal.
And if I could just make one last recommendation. The city of Larnborough does a workshop with the citizens invited to be part of the process of the budget.
Our meetings are advertised and
I know they're
open to the public.
I know they're open. I'm just saying as a workshop, we're actually get citizens involved and understand what that $1.07, what that really represents. Because I'm not an accountant.
All of our meetings that we have budget-wise are open to the public and it's so stated in the newspaper when we advertise it.
And I understand that. I'm just asking for a little bit more interaction.
If you come to those meetings, you'll be able to ask your question. All the folk here, if they come, the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, that was the first meeting, talking about the budgets. So we're not going to
We have another one on June the 23rd at 7 o'clock.
Every time we have one, you are invited to come and do what you're doing now.
No, and I appreciate that. I'm just asking everyone to be a little open to maybe thinking outside the box a little bit and having members of the public be invited, the business members here, everyone, and have little teams develop just to look at, are there better ways or is there a new way to look at how we're spending our money? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mayor Matthew Block.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you. I'm here both as well in 3 roles: as the mayor of Laurinburg, representing the citizens in the city of Laurinburg, and as a citizen of Scotland County, and as a taxpayer. And I'm also here to discuss the proposed tax rate of $1.02. I have 3 points I wanted to make. The first addressed to all of you, and the second two just to all, minus Mr. Ivy, who was not a member of the board. The first thing is that the tax rate does matter. I see here all the time people wanting to make the point that the tax values are so low, and when you multiply by the tax value, we're actually the 35th from the top in tax rate. Well, the poorest county in Scotland County should not be paying the 35th, highest taxes, or wherever that multiple leads. So we should be paying the lowest taxes because we're the poorest county. And the tax rate does matter in that it creates a tremendous amount of negativity in the county. And as representing the city of Laurinburg and interested in the city of Laurinburg's growth, it makes it hard to make Laurinburg grow when it's set inside the county with the highest tax rate in the county. It's a big negative. And no matter how many times you might make the point that the tax rate, the tax burden is not that high, it doesn't matter. People do not like living in a county with the highest tax rate. And to hear that you're planning on going up to $1.02, which would make it all but impossible in the foreseeable future for us not to have the highest tax rate, is very, very discouraging. The second point I wanted to make is that I get tired, of hearing this, you all whining about you only have 9% discretionary funding. The last 3 years you've been involved with the schools who were so eager for you to take out $40 million in money so they could build their little school project that most of the citizens were against. You had them over a barrel to force them to come down on that $10 million mandated money. We all know the reason the taxes are the highest because we pay the schools $5 million more per year than they rightfully would get in a similar county. And that contributes 30 cents to the tax rate. You had the schools at your beck and call, and what did you do? All you do was tell them, well, just as long as you keep it at $10 million a year, you know, fine, go build your school, take out the $40 million. And so where are you now? Back at square one with your little liaison meetings every month, begging them for $150,000 off the $10 million, which won't do a damn thing for the school floor, for the county taxes. So,
Refrain from profanity.
Sure, Bob.
If you would, please, sir.
So-
Make your point. Your time's up.
my time's up?
3 minutes, yes, sir.
Is up?
Make your point.
Yeah, well, that's my point, that you all had a golden opportunity to reduce the tax rate, and you did nothing about it. You bent over backwards, let the schools have their day, and you're stuck again in the same position. We're stuck in the same position. And the last point I want to make is that this is the last budget that those 4 of you are running for county commissioner again next year. And we're less than a year away from the primaries. And I hope you have to run on raising the taxes again in this county. I just hope you have to run. I will guarantee you that not one of the 4 of you will be elected again. Thank you.
The only thing I want to say is that I can only speak for myself. I sat at the budget meeting 2 weeks ago, and I've had a lot of contact with the other 6 commissioners. I read the article in the newspaper. I don't think it was the intention of any commissioner sitting in this room to raise the taxes to $1.02. It's unfortunate that that was the assumption that was made when you came in. Our intention has been to continue to lower our tax rate. Whether we'll get there this year, I do not know. We are not finished with the budget process. This is the beginning. Our manager has more information for us to consider. So please, be mindful of that the intention of this board is to continue to lower our tax rate. Thank you for that consideration. I will not address the remarks by our mayor. I felt like they did not need to be responded to by me.
Mr. Alford.
I would like to make a couple of comments. When I was elected several years ago, our tax rate was $1.10. And I ran my platform along with Mr. Fadder, we will reduce taxes. In order to provide the services that we provide, which are not great, but it's good, and to pay our employees what we pay them, which is among the lowest in the state, and provide benefits. It is not practical or possible for us to lower taxes a lot unless the revenue rises. So we have done the best we can possibly do with the revenue stream that we have and the services that we provide. The second thing I want to say is, I don't understand why our mayor will accuse this board of the $10 million that the school get from the county. There was a deal made in 1964 that this board cannot control. If it was within our power to get from under the school floor, we would have been done that. And the document is for everyone to see. It was an agreement between the county commissioners at that time and the Board of Education at that time. And they went to Raleigh and they got the legislators involved, and so it was a deal where they agreed to it. And now for it to be changed, both boards have to agree. The Board of Education chooses to work with us in other ways, and our hands are tied as far as getting from under the school floor. But the Board of Education have graciously worked with us and have given back over the past few years. Now, for those out there who think otherwise, that's a fact. If I could get from under, if I could vote and it made any difference, I would do that. and everybody else up here would probably do the same. But that's not the case. Both boards will have to agree. But folks say, you can do a referendum. Well, I don't know. So I'm just saying to you, we are not abusing your tax money, and this board is working to reduce your taxes this year. And the article in the paper didn't go far enough to explain all that we talked about in our initial meeting. So don't be concerned that we're trying to raise your taxes. If there's any way possible that we can provide the service that are mandated and the services that you deserve, if we can do that and lower the tax rate, that's what we want to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, can I just say one thing? And I want to say this. I'll almost verbatim say it as to what I said in the workshop a couple of weeks ago. And I came from the business world. Kevin Patterson did exactly what Kevin Patterson is paid to do. He brought a full, complete, everything all-in budget. And I know it comes up to the number that it comes up to. That's anything less than that, he's not doing what I would expect him to do. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to vote for that. But, you know, I said at that time, that responsibility then comes off of him and rolls to these people sitting up here to make the cuts or reductions. I won't even use the word cuts because that's not what's needed. And that's where that responsibility lies now. I don't think it lies with Kevin. And I don't mean that as he's not qualified to do it. I'm sure he is. But I just wanted to make that clear and say that again, that I don't think that was very clear in that newspaper article that, you know, he did exactly what he should have done. And if he had not have done that, I would have questioned him, to be honest with you. So,
I'm very fortunate to have a child in the school system. Many of you have children and grandchildren in the school system. I don't want my daughter to feel inferior when she go any place in Scotland County school system. She go to school over at Carver. When I talk about the school, I feel proud. I'm a proud parent to know my daughters, well built, well surrounded, clean. And I want to make sure all the schools in Scotland County are on that same level. If it take, like I said, the school system, we just talked said about the mandated from the state that money, we locked in on the school floor. But like I said, it doesn't matter to me because I want to make sure my daughter has the same education every kid in Scotland County, Richmond County, Robinson County, Moore County. I want to be on the same level. We have inferior schools. I'm not for that. Take whatever it takes to make sure they get the best education. She get the better education that I have now. I got it. And I came through the school system, and I'm proud that I came through Scotland County school system.
I'd like to say that I don't understand why the mayor could say that he didn't understand that we have one of the highest taxes in Scotland County when he knows goodness well that over 47% of our tax dollar, property tax dollar, goes to the school, and we have no control over that amount. We have to give them an amount. That was a law, and we have to obey it. So he understands why, and I don't know why he would say that.
Anybody else? I would just like to say that, kind of echo maybe a little bit what Tim said. Kevin Patterson has done his job. He brought the commissioners a balanced budget with a revenue neutral tax rate. In our last meeting, we had budget meeting, we instructed, that is the board that's sitting up here, instructed Mr. Patterson to go back to the drawing board and come up with a tax rate of $1, which is where we are now, and a rate of 99 cents. He is working on that with help from each of us. We've all said, you need to do this, that, or the other. Kevin understands his budget far better than any one of us. So he has gone back to each department head and said, this is what you need to cut. What can you cut? If you can't cut, then I'll cut it for you. But we are not going to have a tax rate of 102 or 101.7, whatever you want to call it. Kevin has done his job. And we now, at our next budget meeting, which I believe is at 7 o'clock on June the 23rd, at the economic, or at the Emergency Operations Center, at 7 o'clock tonight, will be another budget meeting. Anybody that care to attend that budget meeting, you're welcome. Thank you.
I believe the meeting's on the
24th, I'm sorry.
24th.
You're done, girl.
Quick second, forgive me because I must add to Mr. McFadden's comment. I want everybody to understand that the money that has been invested in our kids is well spent. I have a daughter in the 8th grade. She got accepted at the School of Math and Science, one of the top 10% for this summer, and they gave her a scholarship. That's due to a great academic education in our school system. And I don't say that to boast, because you know I know your daughter, you know I work with any child, but I want y'all to understand that what we invest in our kids is paying off. And so we don't take a backseat to anything that we do for our children, because we didn't know anything about the North Carolina School of Science accepting kids that early. So she will be going there proudly representing Scotland County. I would like to also add that she won the oratorical contest for the state of North Carolina. This is all coming from our education system. And we have many kids, Lily Wildman. I can name the kids because I'm out at the school. And I know Ms. McDade, I won't name any other names, but I'm going to say this, that never be ashamed of what we invest in our children, because when you do, then we got the wrong priorities. I would like to leave and add this, that we have a healthcare visual on the same day as they have in their program, DSS. It's going to be at Scotland County Courthouse. We're inviting all of you all to come. The visual involves taking a stand for healthcare expansion. We do want that sign. We have a lot of poor people without healthcare, and they fall in a certain block, and Scotland County is trying to do their part with some young people. Not only with some young people, but with the League of Women Voters. We ask that our county commissioners come out, and we also have one of you all representing us. Thank you for what you do, and I realize that it's a taxing job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move along to discussion about foreclosed properties. Any more discussion on the budget?
Commissioners.
Commissioners.
Well, I'd like to.
I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to.
That's all right.
Well, I did too, but
Well, won't be the first, won't be the last.
That's all right, I didn't mean to do that.
Well, yeah, there's a packet that Jason just handed around, and it's got a blue column in it, and I think he put some out here on the table. This is just my run through this budget and what we can do for it. Let me say first by saying, these are not cuts in the budget. These are reductions in the increases. It does not affect the 2% cost of living adjustment. That'll still go, and it does not affect the 7.5, I think it is, for the step for the EOC employees. With that said, you can see in that column that the only ones I took it down were ones that had, increases. An example, administration had an 8.5% increase. I took it down to about 25. So I think the rest of it's explanatory. If you get down to the bottom line on it is if you go, and I'm not saying this is the right one to do, but because I didn't go through and take it out of any capital or personnel or whatever, but I think that should be up to the manager of the department or the county manager. But again, this is only reducing the increases. It is not increasing or cutting any money from that budget, from that original budget. That does reduce it by $676,000. That puts the rate at 98 cents. That might be a little too much, and I know people are going to say, why are you saying that's too much? Come down as much as you can. There's inherent risk in going down too fast. If you don't believe that, ask Richmond County. They did this a couple of years ago, and they came down quite a bit, and now they're having to go back up more than they came down.
You can ask people sitting here.
Well, yeah, that's recently happened, though. And so, yes, I'd love to see it, whatever, but you've got to be real with it too. But, so maybe 98 is not the number, maybe 99 is the number, but my point being, it's possible. I did take out the 4 new hires that were originally talked about because I think Mr. Johnson said it better than anybody. I don't think we need to be growing government right now when we have a population that's going negative instead of growing positive. And I took out a little bit of the capital off that paving project at the health department, but that can be discussed, I'm sure, because of what needs to be. But anyway, it's over there if you want to take a look at it. I know you have it now, and I have the percentages on it. We talked a little bit about the school budget and how much of that can be done and can't be done. The ADM, which is the average daily membership, which is what most schools base the state funding off of. With this budget, we're going to have a 9.5% increase to our amount spent per student. So that's 9.5%. Think of it what you want, but that is what it is. I'm not saying to cut that, and I did not put that on here, but that is a fact in that number because the ADM is going down again this year, just like the county population by the census is projected to do. So I don't think right now is the time to grow government by putting more employees on it. I'm sure they can be used, I'm quite certain of that, but right now may not be the time. So, thank you, sir.
Since the board did suggest or did direct me to come back with alternatives, the other packet of information that was submitted is again a balanced budget with a tax rate of $1 per $100 evaluation, which has a total tax of $21,599,310. It still provides a COLA. There are some positions still in there, and it provides an increase in 911 telecommunicator salaries as well. There is a separate, I did not print out a 99-cent rate because ultimately it's a change in operations. It will look reasonably small, but it's 5.6% of our really controllable operating cost amongst the departments. But that would go in with budgetary goals, and that would be a tax burden of $21,383,000. So each cent is $215,000 of revenue to the county. So, each of those options are available, and right now, those cuts are put in so that they are as sustainable as I can predict they're going to be. Cannot predict what's going to happen next year any better than anyone else, but basically, in addition to a revenue neutral budget, now you have some numbers that show a budget with a tax rate at $1 and a tax rate, ultimately a budget at 99 cents that can be.
I see we're thinking along the same lines.
Yes. Oh, and a lot of it's very similar.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like we're in the same book.
I like to say that Kevin Patterson, who our county manager, and you did exactly what we asked you to do. You came back and you got it reduced to, what, $1.99, and we respect you for that. And, but I want to remind all our board members that Calvin Patterson is our county manager, and he's the one that knows how our budget operates, and we expect him to do that work.
And we might want to add, we probably have some visitors here that may not know Kevin's background. He is certified public accountant, and he's also our county manager, so he has a background, and he knows what he's doing, and we totally trust him. And I want to say to the audience who are concerned out there, we are in your best interest. We want the taxes reduced probably more than you do. So that's what we're working on, and we'll get that.
Nothing else on the budget, and we move on to the foreclosed property.
Okay, an item came up at the budget retreat talking about the current policy on foreclosed properties. Currently, our general standard is we begin foreclosure proceedings after a property is 3 years delinquent. Of course, enforced collections begin immediately, effectively begin in March after an item is after it's delinquent and is published. Thereafter, we start enforced collections. Foreclosure is, of course, the most drastic enforcement that we have. We currently begin after 3 years. The question came up on should we increase it. Several years ago when we started the procedures, we actually started at 5 years. As we caught up with that, we moved it 3 years, and there was conversation at that point in time to move it up again as we've caught back up with the 3 years, which is about where we are. Since there is some concern about the possibility of moving it from 3 years to 2 years, there's actually our tax administrator suggested a compromise. Maintain a 3-year delinquency on property in general, but look at 2 years when the parcel itself is in arrears of $4,000 or more. This is going to put it at a significant value parcel. That basically, you're looking at a house over $200,000. You're probably looking more commercial or business enterprises at this point in time, which are frequently, if for a going concern, a business that is in operations, they don't get behind on property taxes. The risk is too great. So we're generally looking at closed businesses or inactive commercial property at 2 years and $4,000. But this is not going to impact, this would not come close to impacting the average homeowner in Scotland County.
Kevin, let me ask you a question. With no change in it, keep it the same way, even with the recommendation of the tax collector, the business side of it, can there be a compromise? Like, I can't really grasp hold to that, without affecting. It's still going to affect. If we make a change in the 2 year on the business side of it, it's still going to interact the same way when we cut another.
Did you say anybody owe $4,000 in back taxes, they will be affected?
On that parcel for 2 years, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something. First, I want to ask a question. At 3 years foreclosure, we have been collecting above 96% of our taxes, is that correct?
About that.
Yeah, around 96%. And we know in the next 10 years, half of the people in Scotland County will be senior citizens, or more, in 10 years. And we don't have any public housing going up in Scotland County. Zero. And so, since our tax collector will do what we ask them to do, if we maintain the 96 and above collection rate now of our taxes owed, I don't see where it would benefit us to put more stress on folk that it's not going to affect anyway. The fact that we would change it, it's going to have a psychological effect on the folk. We know it probably won't affect most folk because they don't have a $250,000 house. But I know a lot of folk, 2 years will put them substantially over $4,000. I'm one of those. So if I'm living for 2 years, I'm substantially greater than. So I can't get behind. So, but I'm in favor of not bothering at all. Just leave it like it is. We're collecting better now than we have the past several years. So if it's not broke, why fix it?
And in the form of a motion?
Yes.
I second.
I understand what you're saying, John, but you can leave it as it is.
Leave it as is.
I know Ms. Betty's in favor of that.
I certainly am, sir.
Any discussion?
I would like to say I do like that compromise that was come up with, but I don't, I'm all for going, maybe lowering it down to 2, but I don't think the time is right. We got too much inventory right now that we need to get rid of instead of adding to it. It's just gonna keep compounding problems, and we can come back next year.
3 years, it's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we can come back and revisit that next year maybe and see where it's at.
Mr. McCall?
I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is. Just for the education for the people here tonight, this board, the majority of us, we have worked hard on our collection. A 96% collection rate is well above many other counties with the financial challenges that we face. And I think that our tax department should be admired for that. So I think staying at 3 is what we should do. We are disposing of properties. We have had 2 auctions in the last 6 years. We will continue to do that. It's not new. A lot of things that is done by the county, a lot of people don't know about. So I just ask you to stay engaged about what's going on with our foreclosure process and with our tax collection, because we have a lot to be proud of as far as what our tax collection rate is. I remember it was 92, and to go to 96 is a very significant accomplishment. So I think the conversation's been good, I think the discussion's good, I think we all learned from it, but I think 3 years is where we need to be, and I don't see any reason to change.
I had just one comment, and maybe this is directed at Ms. Norton. One of the speakers commented that there was an increase of people paying between the 2 and 3 year period. Has that been your experience?
We have people pay, but you've always had that, where they'll come in after not having showed up for a few years, they'll all of a sudden show up. I don't know if there's an increase or not. But I mean, they do pay out to try to get out of the.
Well, they may realize that the 3 year is the date when the foreclosure may kick in, and that may motivate them to try to make some arrangements.
I would add, the one with the 4,000, for instance, those people probably have not even tried to make a payment. It's not people that's making payments and still owe. More than likely, most of those folks in that category have not even tried to pay. And it is 4,000 per parcel, not per name. But we've already moved on.
Any more comments?
But I do have a question, because this just hit me in that meeting. This came up because somebody requested it. But I don't remember what I don't remember why it came up.
I have
did.
a question.
City of Lawrenceburg.
The city had asked about it.
City
Okay.
request.
Okay.
It's something that had nothing to do with the county.
Right. I just knew there was somebody else asking.
Any other comments? If not, we have a motion and a second that we leave it alone as it is, 3 years. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Also, along with foreclosed properties with our current policy, and this is for properties that have already been disclosed, because the next item is dealing with a bid that this board is going to accept. The board has currently accepted, has established a policy where basically an adjacent landowner, an owner-occupied landowner, or the previous owner or their heirs can purchase the property for lost revenue to the county, basically what the county has in on it, and we go through an upset bid process. Another option is doing basically a negotiated sale where we don't have to go back through 2 different board meetings and doing the advertisements, which extends the process. Asking that the board consider a limited policy that would allow the county manager to have negotiated sales on these properties after they're surplus by the commissioners for adjacent landowners, previous owners, or their heirs for the amount of lost revenues. So basically, so we don't have to go through the bid process or the upset bid process.
So all
It takes about 30
the
days.
foreclosure procedures and costs and lawyers and all that would not be included in this.
But they would be.
It would be.
They would be. So if we go off and if there is $1,000 owed in back taxes on there, plus there's another $1,200 in attorney's fees, interest penalties, and then you wanted to buy a foreclosed property next to your home. The county now has $1,200 in there. You as an adjacent landowner could buy that property from the county for $1,200.
That was a question I had called you about, but that's when I was probably on the same scenario. Called me and asked me, I couldn't answer. But I'll be sure they won't hear.
I think that flexibility is good. It gets the property back on the tax roll with a landowner that's gonna pay the taxes if it's their land adjacent to their own property. So
And this would not include, like a farmer who's not occupying their land would not qualify because it would need to be next to your home. So it's actually adjacent because, so if it's a business use, that would still have to come back to this board for determination.
I want to be sure that, and I agree with the concept that you're proposing, I'm trying to be sure from the legal standpoint that the authority to dispose of the property in that fashion.
Yeah, and we can verify it, but I wanted to get in.
I don't disagree with you, but the proposed concept, just be sure that we fit in the under the category of disposition.
Do we need to ask our attorney just to do some research for it?
Yeah, if you agree with it, then we'll move on with that, just verify.
We need a motion to defer what Kevin proposed, and after we'll vote on it, he and the staff and the attorney will verify that it's legal and vote for it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
The next item is property that was foreclosed on Hardy Road. The adjacent landowner, of course, you accepted their preliminary bid last month. It closed at 5 o'clock the day of the board meeting of the retreat. So there were no upset bids for this property. So we're requesting that the board officially accept the bid so we can transfer it.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Call.
Yes. We have one appointment of a request to be appointed to historic properties. But before I move on that, I just want to bring the board up to date on some activities. May 21st, our clerk of the board and myself received an email from Lee Gall, who's the chairman of Historic Properties, and they had 6 individuals that were submitting their resignation from that board. Leon Butler, Danny Coulter, Lee Gall, who was chairman, J.P. Locker, Philip McCray, and Marcus Gordon, had submitted, and Cecil Walker had submitted their intent to resign from the board. Since then, Marcus Gordon has stated he wants to remain on the board. So we have several vacancies on that board. We also have one appointment request from Mr. Lewis Brett, and I'd like to make a recommendation that he be approved to serve on the historic properties.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Going along with that, since I have this nice audience here tonight, I'm going to make a pitch to our citizens. We have many, many boards that have vacancies, and I think for citizens to be really engaged, a good way to do that is to serve on one of our many boards. With historic properties, we'll be looking for 5 to 6 new members. I serve on that board along with Commissioner Ivey. I would like to see some representation from all areas of the county, as well as a diverse background for African Americans serving, someone from Wall Hill, Gibson, Wagram, to broaden that board and to represent the full county. So if you're willing to serve on that board, if you know of anybody that is, please notify Mr. Robinson, and he will take the application and put it before the board. Also, I encourage you to go to our website, look at all those boards that are out there, the vacancies, see what interests you, and submit your application to be appointed. We don't turn people down. We're always looking for people to serve on boards. We also have another vacancy on the Lombard Planning and Zoning ETJ. The only requirement for that is to live within a mile of the jurisdiction of the city of Laurinburg. It is the Laurinburg City Planning and Zoning Board. Mr. Charles Parker served on that board for a very long time, and with his death, that vacancy is now vacant. So if you know of anyone that can fill it, living within the 1 mile jurisdiction, please let them know and see if they'd be willing to serve on that board.
Kara, I'm so glad you said that, because I was getting ready to say that we do not have representation on this board for the way our county population is divided. So we need, African Americans, Native Americans, any other ethnic backgrounds on this board. And so I want to ask the county commissioners to do not appoint anybody else with the openness until we can get a sort of a level playing field with this. Because we keep doing the same thing over, and until we do that, we're going to keep the same situation going.
That's a good point, Betty. I agree with you. So all of y'all help me out here in recruiting some new members for this board from labor, from any of the other areas, and to create a diverse board. That is that's what we want, because so that it represents the population. And that's all.
Before we get to this resolution, I again would just like to thank all y'all for coming. And would invite you to every meeting that we see interested citizens who are interested in what's going on in their county. And it helps us to do a better job, knowing that there are folks out there that care about what we do. So again, I thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. With this, in your packet, there is a resolution or draft resolution from the Lumber Council of Governments. This is something that the State Cog Association has put out because occasionally when there are state or federal programs that impact our regional basis, the COG just wants support to be considered as the local entity that would actually administer those versus other organizations that might have to be created or different state agencies that would be cobbled in between different areas. Currently, the COG already administers a number of grants for the county, including housing, aging advisory, nutrition. So this is something that is definitely standard for their services for us and for other counties.
Kevin, I like to say that I cannot really agree with this proclamation tonight. I want us to examine some of the work that COG has done over the last few years and make sure that they are coming up to our standards. I have problems with them with this, rehab housing, and those grants and how it is done and how they don't communicate with us and people apply and they can't ever get any response. I have some problems with it, so I would like for us to examine all phases of COG's work with us before we do a proclamation.
Is there a particular, they asked me to comment on this. I serve on the board. Is there any particular area?
I just said housing, but I want the other areas that they work with in the county to be examined, to make sure that they're doing everything we want them to do, because we don't have to use COG.
But we do everything Scotland County asks. I serve on that board.
Yeah, but I work with them too.
Okay, and I'm saying anything that Scotland County asks the Council of Governments to do, we do for Scotland County. There's not one thing, there hasn't been one request made past 10 years to the board down there for Scotland County that was turned down. Because I'm the boss down there.
But John, you may be the boss.
No, I say I'm the boss.
You and I were sitting here arguing this point.
No, I'm not arguing, Commissioner.
I just want an examination of this agency, this group. That's all I'm asking for.
You can't examine the group.
I mean, examine what they work with, the departments, the involvement we have with them as our administrative entity from the state monies that come to us.
Ms. Betty, John, we can move this item to the 24th in our budget meeting.
Okay.
And have a representative from the COG to come and talk about this. That would answer your question, Ms. Betty.
Okay.
And help John out.
Okay, all right.
Is that agreeable?
Happy agreement.
John, you got a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with it. I just want the programs that.
We'll move it to the 24th and
okay,
have somebody from the COG come and.
I'll get with them and have them come and for everything that we've asked them to do for us.
We'll have to give a
report on that.
And I'll be here to remind them of some things they haven't done.
Thank you.
Okay. This is going to be fairly brief. Just a quick update, if you've been out to the landfill in previous months, you've noticed at one point in time there was a wall that seemed like a mile long, a very high a lot of leaf and limb, a lot of tree and limb. That storm debris has been ground, that was completed. Most of the material has already been spread around the buffer area of the landfill. That is actually expected to be completed this week. Covington Street School, we do have a full scope of work. Of course, the painting contract has been awarded. The bids for the construction aspect have been, the bid package has been pushed out. We do expect the construction completion deadline to be September 27th on that project. Also, the emergency watershed program has been going on, has continued to go on since it was announced in December. We have finally gotten permission for 6 projects to officially apply on these. So as those projects are submitted, we would expect a couple weeks turnaround or several week turnaround. But we expect to be able to be released by federal agencies to push out or go out to bid in July. This actually, Leisure Living and McLeod Road are not in the group that has been approved at this point in time. So we're still waiting on those. Now, Leisure Living, we did get permission to do temporary work in, which Public Works, City of Laurinburg, after that DOT came in and did some additional work, and has had a significant impact in the area. But we will still have additional work there done once everything is approved. But we do have 6 projects that are going to be finally approved, hopefully in July, or hopefully by the. So we'll be ready to start in June. Also, the next budget meeting or the recess meeting is currently scheduled for June 24th at 7 o'clock at the Emergency Operations Center. So tonight, unless something bizarre happens, tonight will be the last regularly scheduled meeting in this facility. Because the board has already approved to move our regularly scheduled commissioners meeting to the Emergency Operations Center moving forward. That's it.
This next piece of business gives me a lot of pleasure. I've known this individual for a number of years. Just can't say enough about him. Sandy Keller. You don't need to Sandy has been a picture.
Take him out into the.
I was trying to hide, not in. Sandy, you have been a fixture in our meetings. You've always been fair. And you report what the facts. And from time to time, you've been saying, this is not on the record, so I got it. And you've never let us down, and we appreciate that more than you know. This is just recognition of what you've done and what you've given us. Let's give Sandy a great.
All these accolades come to me, but I worked in here 31 years ago, and nobody knew me, and I didn't know them. I went to the key personnel, and I said, I'm representing WWC on the news. I need your help and support. This is what I'd like. And
from that first date, everybody, some of them are still in this room, did just that. And I've been totally amazed at that point, how much information is shared. But as I always tell them, the more I know going in, the better I can report it. So it's been a pleasure. It's probably been a great meeting.
Again, I'd like to thank y'all for being here. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.